How's everybody doing? What's up, Anenya? What's up, Queso? How you doing? Commented soy bite earlier, and that was so spot on. Hell yeah, man. Come on up. I'd love for you to tell me what's so bad about soy. Keep tapping and sharing, guys. If you disagree with the prompt, you can come on up. Alright, I need to adjust my thing. There we go. Okay, raw milk is neutral. I would disagree with that. I'd like for you to tell me why you think it's neutral. You're stressed? What are you stressed about? I don't know anybody that wanted people to drink raw milk, Riley. That sounds like a made-up thing in your head. That would be antithetical to the science. Artificial milks? I don't see what that has to do with what we're talking about. Pasteurized milk is just heating it up. That's it. Oil? Wait, what do you mean by oil? It just sounds like you're making shit up. Yeah, Bergs, you can come on up and provide the studies, but you're not going to. You're going to puss out. Well, why don't some of you come on up? Hiding in the comment section isn't going to prove your point. I know, obviously, you're waiting for someone that's more intelligent than you to come on up, so you don't have to, but that's not going to happen, so just come on up instead. Okay, Big. If you need to be attracted to a guy that's telling you something for you to believe him, that's on you. I don't base whether something is true or not off of if I'm attracted to them or not. Everything can be bad for you? I mean, that seems like an incredibly vague statement. I mean, all things have the potential to be harmful to some degree or another, depending on the dose and the context. Yeah, someone just come on up, provide some of the research. If you think artificial sweeteners are horrible, or soy, or seed oil, or any of those, really, just provide the research, and we can have a good conversation about it. But it does require you coming on up. You know, I'm not going to have a full-on debate with you in the comments. You're not going to be able to provide evidence in the comments, and we wouldn't be able to have a proper discussion while you're in the comments. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. How old are you?
I am 32.
Cool. What's going on?
I was just wondering, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I just on the sweeteners one, isn't there research that it's bad for your gut? That it doesn't it's not good for your gut microbiome?
Which one specifically are you referring to?
So don't they all kind of generally work the same way, where you don't really digest them? So
no. Not every artificial sweetener is the same. No, there's obviously going to be differences between sucralose and aspartame and any of the other ones for sure. There's going to be differences. But you of course digest them. I mean, where would they go if you don't digest them?
Where would they go if you don't digest them?
Yeah,
I think they just like they don't really get absorbed in your like your stomach and your small intestine and stuff.
So they just sit there?
No, they just like pass through you.
But everything passes through you. What do you? I don't know what you mean by that statement. Everything eventually passes through you.
Yeah, but like some stuff that you eat, you absorb more or less of it, and I think artificial sweeteners you absorb less of.
But if most people, or not most, but if whatever, some people believe artificial sweeteners are bad, wouldn't be absorbing less of it be a good thing?
Yeah, well, I don't know. That part I don't know about, like whether or not absorbing it is bad. I think the thing that I have heard about them is that they, for the reason of that you don't digest them very well, it messes with your gut microbiome.
Yeah, I mean, listen, every single thing has, every single thing has the potential to have side effects. I don't think anybody's saying otherwise. But my stance when it comes to artificial sweeteners is that the benefits far outweigh the potential side effects people can get from it, and they're not nearly as harmful as your average person likes to make them out to being. What's up, for real?
We already changed the prompt, so.
What?
You changed the prompt. You're on to raw milk and artificial sweeteners, so.
Yeah, that's why we're live right now. Yeah. I'm good.
No, I know. We were talking about the other stuff earlier, so.
You don't want to talk about this right here?
The artificial sweeteners?
Just anything in the background. It could be artificial sweeteners. It could be the other things.
Well, actually, did you hear about RFK, or did you listen to RFK on Joe Rogan about the peptides? They're going to allow 14 to 19 peptides to be taken off the list of bad things. You're going to be able to get peptides, pretty much. Do you agree with that?
Do I agree that he's going to be doing that? I don't know if he's going to be doing that.
No, he is. He just said they're going to allow up to 19 peptides that have been restricted.
I don't really see how that goes towards benefiting the health of your average American. That's just going to benefit a fraction of a percent of the gym bros who like to use peptides and stuff. So that doesn't affect your average person. I'm interested in somebody making decisions. Okay, run. Somebody making decisions on a large scale that affects your average American's health, not something that affects people who are generally already into health in the first place. You would want to cater towards people that aren't healthy, not towards people who generally are healthy. Anyways, do you have anything else to say, Tal?
Oh, sorry. I thought you kicked me off for the end.
No. Yeah, Paul, did you say you want me to prove that they're not bad? You're an intelligent enough human being, Paul, to know that somebody can't disprove a negative. That's not how things work. If you come up and you make a statement, I can disprove it, like a positive statement. Saying, for example, if you want to say soy raises estrogen, yeah, sure, that's something that I'd be able to disprove. But you can't ask somebody to disprove a negative, or prove a negative, rather. And if you're watching on Tube, you can call on in if you want to talk. Just don't drink water. Not sure how that helps. Not even worth debating. That's typically what people say when they're in the comments and they're too scared to come on up. That's what I would say. If I were in the comments of somebody who I disagreed with and I just wasn't intelligent enough to debate them, I would say they're not worth debating. That would be my main excuse, probably. If you guys want to keep tapping the screen, liking it, that'd be great. And if you disagree, come on up. What's up, Fred?
What's up?
How old are you?
I'm 20.
Cool. What's going on?
So I've been trying to agree with you on the whole raw milk and soy thing, but I want to push back on the seed oils.
For sure, man. Yeah. What's your stance?
So my argument would not necessarily be that the polyunsaturated fats specifically are unhealthy,
Okay.
but rather it's the way that seed oils are produced. Like, you know those clear plastic bottles of olive oil you get at Walmart or
Sure.
whatever?
Mm-hmm.
So all of those, like typically it's seed oil, so the big bottle of Mazola corn oil or the big bottle of canola oil you'll get at Costco or whatever, like highly processed oil, those oils are oxidized, right? Because the way that they extract them is they're heated to an extraordinarily high temperature, and polyunsaturated fats specifically, all fats, but especially polyunsaturated fats, those bonds are prone to breaking. So the more polyunsaturated a fat is, the more prone it is to, the bonds are to breaking when they're heated up at an extremely high temperature. And that's why I'd say that getting seed oils out of the food supply would be a net positive, because the way that they have to be extracted, as a necessity, you cannot cold extract oil from like the rapeseed, which is what canola oil comes from, or from like the sunflower, the way you can like from an avocado or olive oil.
Yeah, so like for example, like would you say if McDonald's like if they didn't cook with the seed oil and they cooked with like butter or beef tallow, do you think McDonald's would be healthier? Not saying it would be healthy, but do you think it would, did you say it would be healthier?
I would say no, because those saturated fats can also oxidize at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that if we were to switch from, I'd say that it is a net positive to get people to reduce the amount of polyunsaturated fats from omega-6, like linoleic acid, in the human diet is a net positive. But I do not believe that switching from like canola oil to beef tallow, like I think some fast food chains are doing because of Secretary Kennedy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that that's making it any more healthy.
Right. I would.
If anything, that might make it a little bit worse because saturated fat raises your LDL. But
100% agree. Here's the deal. I would say the problem isn't with seed oils. I'd say the problem is with not fast food, but processed food. And processed foods tend to have seed oils. So typically when people are eating a lot of shitty foods, just unhealthy foods in general, they happen to be having seed oils. I just don't think it's a seed oil problem, because I think if they did replace that with any other oil, at least based on the research, it doesn't show that these people would be any healthier at all. But I think in general it would be a good idea to reduce oils overall, just because they're a huge source of calories for a lot of people and they're very calorically dense. So I think it would behoove and I think it would behoove your average American to reduce oils altogether, seed oil or not. But I just don't think seed oils are inherently unhealthy in relation to other oils.
So that's what I'm saying. I would say that most seed oils, I'll put the exception with like some, like if you want to go in semantics, like olive oil, I guess some could argue is technically a seed oil because
it's not really technically constituted as one.
What we would conventionally consider seed oil, like canola, sunflower, corn oil, I would argue that they are inherently unhealthy because of the method by which they have to be extracted requires extraordinary amounts of heat that oxidizes the fats. Mm-hmm. And any oxidized fat, be it saturated, be it monounsaturated like avocado and olive oil, or be it polyunsaturated like these, or even fish oil, which is like also polyunsaturated, but it's an omega-3. So I think that these seed oils are inherently unhealthy, and reducing them in the American diet is a good thing.
I just don't. Again, I don't think that would be inherent to those. That's all I am saying, though. Again, I'm not saying that that's a good idea to go out of your way to intake a lot of seed oils or anything. I understand what you're saying, that in the bottles or whatever they're oxidized.
I think when you read this stuff, you'll end up like this guy on the screen.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Judd, would you like to have a serious conversation? Because I'm having a good one with the other guest.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So all right. So what's your stance on things? And just act like an adult. It's not that difficult.
I'm just saying, like, McDonald's and seed oils, it's proven to have hormones, and if you have hormones, you're gonna end up like doctor. So I recommend that
That has nothing to do
don't
with
eat
seed oils.
McDonald's.
That has nothing to do with
Yeah, just
seed
don't
oils.
trust seed oils.
Ja.
Don't trust soy. Drink raw milk. Be a Sigma.
Okay. All right. I don't think he's serious. Have a conversation.
Yeah, that's serious. That's serious.
Ja, you get your alarm is going off. Your carbon monoxide detector is going off. You should fix that. All right. It doesn't seem like you're here for a serious.
This is my real opinion.
Okay. It doesn't seem like you're here for a serious conversation.
I am. This is my real take on life. That's why I live so long.
What you're saying has nothing to do with my stance. I never said it's a good idea.
Yes, it does.
I never said it's a good idea to eat fast food. So why you're saying that, I don't know.
Okay, what is McDonald's made out of? Seed oils, artificial sweeteners, and
Fix
soy.
your carbon monoxide detector.
Well, they also have they also do contain red meat, which is something from the whole MAGA crowd promotes. So like McDonald's, it contains, I don't know if they have soy necessarily, but they do contain seed oils and artificial sweeteners. But they also have red meat. So by that logic, should we stop eating red meat?
Well,
because McDonald's sells it.
That's a good point, and I would say no, we don't need to eliminate red meat. Although I do think it's a good idea to minimize it. However, though, the reason why once again McDonald's is bad isn't because any one specific ingredient. It's the accumulation of many things that make it very highly palatable.
Calories.
Yeah, they're very dense in calories. It tastes good generally. I mean, not everybody agrees, but it tastes good. It's very palatable. It's very easy to overeat and still not be full afterwards. And that's a huge, that's a very bad combination that would often lead to obesity.
Yeah, and I think it's really funny that they're eating. I realized that it's the photo of them all eating McDonald's.
Yeah. What's up, Big Chief? How you doing?
Never mind, bro. I read your bio. Yo, talking to you, bro. What the fuck? Who are you?
All right, Joe. I'm gonna bring you.
Who are you?
I'm gonna bring you down because.
Who are you, bro?
All right. Anyways, Big Chief, what's up?
I'm gonna hit out, dog. Never mind.
Why?
Take care.
You don't want to have a conversation?
It's all good.
All right. I don't know why you requested, but okay. Yeah, man. So back to what we were saying. So it depends. If you are suggesting that instead of having those seed oils that are typically found in those bottles at Walmart or whatever, instead people just have no oils, yeah, I would say that probably would be healthier overall for the average American.
Well, no. I would say that they should increase their consumption of monounsaturated fats, like olive and avocado oil.
From what's... Well, listen...
Because
I'm very pro olive. I'm very pro olive and avocado oils. I don't want to make them otherwise. I just don't think, at least based on the data, that those are necessarily going to be any significantly healthier for you than the former of what we're talking about.
Yeah, but what I was gonna say is that polyunsaturated fats, like linoleic acid, which is very high in these seed oils, are better consumed in their whole food form, like peanuts and pistachios and nuts. These are all very high in that same nutrient, right? But they're unoxidized. And we know, we've established heavily, that oxidation of the oil is the main issue here. It's not the seed oils themselves, but the seed oil, in order to get a seed oil, you have to oxidize it, is what I'm saying, right? And I believe that we should remove any heavily oxidized fat. I don't think that we should be selling heavily oxidized olive oil, but I also don't think that we should be selling heavily oxidized any oil, right? So I would say that yes, seed oils are inherently unhealthy, and I think on balance, right, the MAGA movement has probably done more harm than good, but I would say that removing seed oils from the American diet and replacing them with unsaturated fats, not with saturated ones, but is a good thing.
Well, I would argue that those oils found in their quote-unquote natural forms are healthier because they're part of whole foods, right? Like you're gonna get fiber paired with it, some protein paired.
Well, yeah.
Like we're talking about peanuts, for example. You're getting fiber and protein, which are very good to be having, and typically that's going to cause it to be more satiating and filling, cause you to eat less calories than you would with it being in the oil form. You know what I mean?
Well, beyond satiety, right? It's about if you control for calories, right? You eat. Let's say right now I'm consuming 3 tablespoons of canola oil. I cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner with a tablespoon of canola oil. and then I switched to cooking it with, avocado oil, that would be a positive. That would be a positive improvement. Or if I switched from, I specifically want to consume linoleic acid, and instead of consuming that from like canola oil, I like keep my calories exactly the same, but I consume that same linoleic acid, like the macros or like the micronutrient, like from peanuts or from pecan, like any nut, right?
Yeah, I got you.
Like that's better for you, because I think that like this kind of like when you say seed oils are not bad for you, right? I think that's a bit disingenuous, and not disingenuous because it's not like you're
lacking context.
But it's untrue.
It's Democratic rally, you shoot it up.
Oh my God, what is with these people, guys? If you disagree with the background prompt, come on up. 111X, you're welcome to come on up. I'd be interested in refuting what you're saying. So, but yeah, anyways, I'd be interested in looking at data where they do control specifically for the calories and fiber and protein and that sort of thing, and one of them got it from some of the seed oils, and the other one got it from like the whole food source. All else being equal, I'd be interested in seeing what those studies' results look like. That would be a good study personally to see.
Well, we can clearly see from like these, there aren't really like that would be a really hard study to nutritional research is really like murky because it's hard to control all these variables. But we do have research showing that polyunsaturated fats compared to monounsaturated fats are more prone to oxidizing. Not only the fats oxidizing, but also they're more prone to oxidize your LDL. So like, which and yeah, when you have a lot of LDL, that like you're someone who eats unhealthy, you're probably going to have pretty high LDL, and then on top of that you're oxidizing it with these seed oils. That's not a good thing, right?
So the reason why I have it in the prompt is seed oils are not bad, because I do think they are very, very overly demonized, and I think because of that demonization, it probably causes more harm than good. I'm not telling people to go out of their way to have seed oils or anything like that. That's not the point of the prompt. I think the point of the prompt is for people not to be fearful of single ingredients and to take into context their overall diet and lifestyle. And I don't want people to be afraid that like, hey, if I cook with like this oil here versus this one, my health is going to be substantially healthier or unhealthier either way. Because I think people get that impression sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
I think context matters is all I'm trying to say, and people
focus
on the small details.
And then even on the artificial sweeteners, I'd somewhat disagree. Like, I think sucralose, for example, there is some data to suggest it's somewhat linked to colon cancer, and yeah, we've seen colon cancer rise because like people aren't eating enough fiber, like that's all there, right?
Sure.
But people weren't really eating much fiber. Like if you look at the average diet from the 20s to like the 50s, where we had lower rates of colon cancer, like I'm not making the argument that we should eat like how they did, but you'll see that they generally don't eat a ton of fiber, right? So yeah, fiber is protective against colon cancer, but I would say these artificial sweeteners are definitely could have a hand in contributing to the increasing rates of like colon cancer, like sucralose specifically, and I think allulose is considered a little bit better, and then stevia is fine. Erythritol I've heard is a little bit better, but mainly sucralose is a little iffy.
Is there any research you're specifically referring to showing that sucralose can lead to colon cancer? I'm not saying you're wrong or right. I'm just curious.
Well, just like in general, it's like pretty well known that sucralose causes gut issues. Like it basically causes an upset tummy, and that doesn't mean in and of itself it's bad, right? But it's one of the only things that, it's not the only things, but it's one of the things that has significantly changed when like the uptick there's been a significant uptick in the amount of artificial sweeteners that we're eating, right? And colon cancer has gone up, right? And we know that the biggest risk factors for colon cancer, or things that increase the risk of colon cancer, is red meat consumption because of the heterocyclic amines and like
I agree with the red meat.
And polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons like HCH and PAHs. Those can increase your risk, and then low fiber consumptions. But the rate of those things have gone down. People are eating more like plant-based. People are eating more more of these less red meat generally.
Yeah, I just want to.
And heart disease has gone down, but colon cancer is going up, and alcohol consumption has actually dropped too.
You're right.
And that's a big risk.
I just want to make sure we're not engaging in a causation correlation fallacy, just showing.
No, we're not. I'm saying that it needs to be. Like in the U.S., we use the GRAS standard, right, which is generally recognized as safe. So we say that before banning an ingredient, it has to be definitively proved to be unsafe. Whereas other countries like Europe and Japan, they use the standard of like unless an ingredient is proven to be safe, you can't it can't be into the food supply. And I understand that like the U.S. does ban more stuff than Europe.
Yeah.
Like.
Which goes
there's actually and I'm not saying that the food quality is so much better in Europe, but I think the GRAS standard, for example, needs to go, and that's something Secretary Kennedy has actually talked about, and I am glad. I'm not saying that he's I don't agree with his stance on vaccines, but I agree that the GRAS needs to go.
Yeah, so I wish we had. What's up, Alex? You can chime in on this. Do you know who Scientific Snitch is, Fred?
I think so.
Yeah, she comes on my panel sometimes. I because she would be very privy to some of this research. She's pretty intelligent on this. But Alex, I don't know if there's anything that you want. I know I invited you up, but if there's anything you wanted to speak to on that.
I was just came in at the kind of tail end of what Fred was talking about, how like colorectal cancer is up. That is a definite, and we're seeing it in younger individuals too.
So he was saying that, and he wasn't denying that fiber intake or lack thereof plays a role, and also red meat. But he was saying that sucralose was playing a role in that, and so that's what we were talking about.
About sucralose and colorectal cancer.
Yeah.
Well, not just sucralose, like generally artificial sweeteners. Like I think erythritol, for example, is pretty benign, but just the general conversation around artificial sweeteners, I don't think they're completely benign.
No, I'm not saying they're 100% benign. I do think that overall they probably have more of a positive impact than a negative impact. Because I would never.
Oh yeah, because people are eating less.
Right, and I think
calories.
Exactly. So I think regardless, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't study these things more. I think everything should be studied more. But yes, I do think, and research shows that people do intake less calories when they have artificial sweeteners versus, say, sugar, for example. So, and I think that's good for overall caloric intake and thus obesity. But it's very individually based. Some people may not need, quote unquote, need an artificial sweetener, while others I think would benefit more.
I mean, that whole thing where they replaced the high fructose corn syrup with cane sugar, that's not going to do anything.
That I 100% agree, and I have people come on in here and saying that high fructose corn syrup is so horrible for you, and I don't disagree that having a large amounts.
Well, it is.
But in relation to sugar, is it any different? No.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's going to be the same.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's I think. It has slightly less fructose, I believe. It's like half glucose and half fructose.
It's a very small
corn syrup is corn syrup's like 55% glucose or 55% fructose and like 45%.
It's a small
glucose.
difference. Yeah, you're right. It's not a major difference at all.
Not glucose. I think galactose or something. One of the sugars. I'm not.
It might be glucose because
fructose and glucose. Yeah. It's a mix.
Yeah,
galactose. We see that more in dairy.
Oh yeah, galactose is dairy. Yeah. Like the carbs in milk.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact percentage, but one of them is 55-45 fructose glucose, and the other one is
50-50.
It's something like we're not talking about a big difference soon.
Yeah, it's the same thing with honey. Honey is like they say, honey is so much better, and it's similar. It's 60-40 or 55-40. It's not a huge difference. Though I can understand the argument around honey because there's antimicrobial properties and a very, very, very small amount of antioxidants. Not that it does much, and there's also research that it can help with allergies because the bees pollinate and if you're eating local honey, but
yeah, I would have to look into that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you disagree with on the screen?
No, not really. I mean, I agree soy is falsely demonized. I think it's a little ridiculous. The extent. I don't know why, honestly. Like it's the way of all things.
The
I don't know.
feminization idea where that came from, I think that a lot of misinformation about soy converting to estrogen and it feminizing the male body, and that can scare. I mean, that's what happened with vasectomies for a while. It was like kind of a weird rumor that it will feminize a man, and it's like it goes nowhere near your interstitial cells, and now we've learned. Now men are like, oh, but you know what happens when someone starts a rumor or misinformation, and it just
spreads very quickly.
It grows, and you can't put it back in the jar, right? You
Spreads
can't
a lot faster than the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it can.
And ironically, raw milk or like milk in general contains actual estrogen. Like, you know what I mean? Like dairy has actual estrogen in it, and soy has phytoestrogen.
Yeah, and they obviously mistake it, thinking that phytoestrogen is going to increase, estradiol within the human body.
Yeah, I mean, milk arguably is like more likely to do that because it has like not phyto phyto just means it's from plants, but like it has cow estrogen.
Yeah, but even that's not going to like increase one's estrogen any significant degree whatsoever.
Well, I heard there's a little bit of research, and don't quote me on this, that there's evidence that excessive estrogen levels in women can increase their risk of breast cancer. But I don't like I said, don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong or not. I just don't know. But all right, man. It was
great speaking to you.
Yeah, no, it's a good conversation. I don't normally get good conversations up here. People usually disagree with me based on a lot of emotions. So it was good to have this conversation.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, no, we've had this prompt up before, and instead of because we kind of all agree, right? Like, I agree there's issues with microplastics, there's issues with artificial like the over processing of food, the sedentary lifestyles. I totally agree that they're leading to major issues like colorectal cancer that you brought up, right? So it's nice when we can all kind of be like, we don't want to push chug seed oils. We just want people to understand that if you're going to make a lifestyle change from, say, unsaturated fats to saturated fats, you should understand that there are risks.
Yeah, and that he agreed with. That because most of the time when I
agree with that.
Yeah, most of the time when I get people who find seed oils to be harmful, they then think also saturated fats are more beneficial. But yeah, you didn't say that. Yeah.
Well, there is I think small amounts of the whole saturated fat conversation. I think that's kind of a different thing. I believe it requires more nuance because then you gotta think about what kinds of saturated fat are you consuming. Is it palmitic acid? Is it stearic acid? Is it lauric acid? Because generally, I believe stearic acid is pretty neutral for increasing LDL, whereas palmitic acid really does a lot, increases your LDL. And then lauric acid, which is what you get from coconut oil, is kind of neutral. So I think there's nuance required for the whole saturated fat increases your LDL. But around what type of saturated fat you're consuming.
Yeah, sure, it's going to differ a bit. But yeah, in general, obviously, it's not a good idea to go over. I forget what the American Heart Association recommends. I think it's 7 to 8% of your calories, something like that.
Yeah, and I think it's 10 or no.
It might be up to 10.
Heart Association is lower.
Might be up to 10.
No, I think FDA, the general nutrition dietary guidelines, where they flip the food pyramid upside down.
Yeah.
They said, limit
having
your
a conversation about that.
I think it's ridiculous. They flip the food pyramid upside down and they put butter on the same level as I think or they put grapes or fruit lower than butter, a whole stick of butter. And then how are you supposed to limit your saturated fats to 10% if you're supposed to eat butter at the same rates you eat fruits?
So
yeah,
it wouldn't make sense. You wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah.
No, yeah, I think
there's just bite into that stick.
Stop.
Yeah, I mean, they do sell fried butter at some steak shows.
Yeah, I mean, like, sure.
But I hope
like,
nobody's going to the state fair looking for a salad. 'Cause
Well,
we all know how those go, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
I like myself a good salad, though. I really enjoy a good salad.
I do too.
7-7, you can come up if you wanted to, sure. Yeah, I like a good salad. And whoever asked me if I'm a vegan, I am not a vegan, no. No. I like meat too much. All right, man. Well, if there's nothing else, I can bring you back down.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great rest of your night, okay? All right, let's get to 77 over here. If you guys want to come up and talk about the topic, on TikTok, hit the request button. If you're watching on the other one, just dial in the phone number, please, okay? What's up, 77?
Hey, I just wanted to ask a quick question, and it's not necessarily the topic. It was a fitness question, though.
Yeah, sure. What's up?
So I've been working out like a lot lately the past 5 months, and my wife started because she wants to lose some weight. She got some pre-workout and it has creatine in it, and I told her that's not going to help her lose weight if it has creatine. What do you think?
Well, I mean, creatine itself isn't going to have an effect on at least directly on weight loss. I mean, I guess in an indirect sense, creatine would help somebody build more lean body mass. Having more lean body mass can help with fat loss. But if she's trying to lose
Does
body
it not
fat,
help you retain water? And
Well, it can, yeah, it can, but the whole creatine is like an alternative energy source for your cells when you're working out, right? Like our body actually makes
Gotcha.
creatine phosphate, and you get like maybe, I think it's estimated around 70 muscle twitches versus ATP, which is your main like energy source coming from your mitochondria. And then, of course, we can switch over with anaerobic respiration. That's what our skeletal muscles can do. It's why we make lactic acid. I personally, I have female students who will ask me that same question about creatine, and I'm over here like, caffeine can also kind of take the place of, you know, that little energy boost. That's why some people will go to the gym and they'll have, of course, stimulant pre-workout. But I think if she's getting enough rest, if she's fueling her body, I don't know if she would really need it for a workout, you know?
well,
Right, it's just in the pre-workout. I'm like saying, is it going to be a negative impact?
Most of the time when creatine is in pre-workout, it's generally underdosed. The effective dose of creatine is roughly 5 grams per day. So if there's less than that in there, she may not be getting benefits of it. But there's no acute effects to creatine anyways. Like meaning like you don't take creatine and then you get effects. It has to build up. It takes a couple weeks. So yeah, that shouldn't be her main focus. If she's trying to lose weight or body fat, her focus should be just mostly on getting stronger, building lean body mass, and controlling her calories.
Got it.
Yep,
Thank
and
you.
it's awesome for her too because women can lose bone density over time. I don't know how old your wife is, but like I'm 40, right? So
We're 36.
I know. How old?
36.
We're 36.
Oh, 36. Okay, so yeah, so again, starting now is a really good time for her, just in general. You know, I used to be that way too. I wanted to lose weight, especially after having a baby and stuff like that. And then after a while, it got to the point where I was like, I want to get stronger. I want to see me increase my weights or my reps. And then, of course, I'm also doing it for the long-term effects of maintaining bone density as we get older.
Perfect.
All right, man.
Thank you, guys.
For sure. Yeah. Have a great rest of your night, okay?
Have a good stream.
Yeah, thank you. Take care. Yeah, guys, I mean, if you have any questions, I guess, related to health and nutrition, you can come up and ask. That's fine. And again, you can call in on the tube. I'll keep posting the phone number so you can call up. But yes, the Rothschilds pay me $1,000 a week. So there you go. You get your answer. Somebody asked me, so I thought I'd give them the answer.
Just rolling in the dough.
Sir Charles, that's not at all true. Sir Charles says bone density is what you were given at birth and due to genetics. Yeah, genetics play a huge role, but you can 100% increase your bone density via strength training.
You can totally increase your bone density because your tendons are constantly pulling on your skeleton, and that's going to reinforce the skeleton.
Yeah.
Like,
This is
Like if you break a bone, your bone gets replaced.
I mean,
Osteocytes are alive.
this has been established like without any doubt for the longest time. We know that you can build up your bone density. That's one of the main recommendations for people with older women. That what can I think of?
Yeah.
What it's called?
Menopause.
Not menopause, but
Menopause.
the bone density
Oh.
thing. Why can't I think of it?
Osteoporosis.
Osteoporosis is one of the main things that are
I feel
recommended.
like I'm on Jeopardy.
It's one of the main things recommended to reverse osteoporosis. In fact, my mom had osteopenia, and she started strength training, and her bone density over a couple of years started to improve. So absolutely makes a difference.
Yeah, and I mean, that whole talk about, again, it doesn't even have to be genetics. Like, look back in the day when we used to have like rickets, right? That wasn't genetic based. That was literally just children not having the proper nutrients.
Yeah.
And that affected their bone density and their bone growth. But now we have fortified foods. So
somebody else, what about bone smashing? I unfortunately do know what that is.
I know what that is.
That guy clavicle, whatever his name is, does that.
He's named himself after a collarbone. Like, of all the bones you're gonna go with, you're gonna pick the one that so many people have broken. Like,
that's a little odd, but he does the bone smashing thing, and it's. I mean, his life is not going to end well. I understand he's having tons of fun, making tons of money, all that, but like the path he's going on, not the best.
I'm sorry, if you have to hit yourself in the face with a hammer, it just feels wrong.
Yeah, guys, look it up. Bone smashing is a thing, unfortunately. Convert, how you doing?
It's like limb lengthening.
Hey.
It's like, don't do that.
Hey, how old are you, man? I just need to know for TikTok.
33.
Cool. Is there anything you disagree with on screen?
Yeah, so I don't really care much about cereals or soy, but artificial sweeteners is the worst thing that has ever happened to the world.
Oh, okay, that is a very bold statement. How so?
Every single product that you see when you go to the grocery store is packed with artificial sweeteners and all sorts of.
No, it's not. That's not true. That's not
corn
true.
derivative chemicals.
But that's already not true. What you said. There's plenty of products that don't have artificial sweeteners at all. No, there's plenty of products that have high sugar.
I didn't say all. I said most.
Well, okay, you didn't quite say that. Now, are you saying some people constitute high fructose corn syrup as an artificial sweetener, but even though it's not really? Okay, well.
Corn derivative. It's a manufacturer.
When I'm talking about artificial sweeteners, I'm talking about the non-caloric sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose, etc. Well, I 100% disagree. But however, if we're talking about high fructose corn syrup, it is no worse for you than cane sugar. All else being equal, no worse for you than cane sugar.
Yeah, I get what you're getting at in terms of like it's just the fucking sugar, but the most evil thing that these corporations have done for us is that they jam pack it in every single product that they sell to you. Like
I think there's more evil
everything
things out there.
has that. Like it's like you've been addicted to fucking sweeteners. We've all been addicted to sweeteners, and it's the poison that is killing everyone.
Well, but tell me specifically.
First of all, if you make that claim, we should see some evidence of.
Sure. There's a lot of research that's happening right now in terms of the high caloric diets that is attributed to the rise in cancer and how that feeds the cancer cells.
Okay,
and its
I know,
cancer
but
growth.
slow down.
Whoa.
We have to isolate the variable, right? Of course, high caloric diets and things like that are harmful. We're talking specifically the artificial sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose. In fact, those would help reduce one's calories per the data.
And they have.
Yeah.
They have. They can help with weight management. They can also help diabetics because there are certain sweeteners, like you mentioned, the 0-calorie kind, that don't spike your blood glucose levels.
Right. So, I still think it's like I'm not a fan of artificial sweeteners, and I get what you guys are getting at. I'm all for like natural sweeteners, like fucking fructose that comes in fruits and honey and sugarcane. I think artificial sweeteners are just a band-aid in terms of how we're addicted to sugar, and we all need to have our fix. I hate the taste of artificial sweeteners. It's the worst thing in the world. I don't know about the health impacts of artificial sweeteners. I was talking about more so to the high fructose corn syrup and processed sugars and processed sweeteners. And maybe I could bunch up artificial sweeteners in the group of processed sweeteners, right? But
I
at the end
know,
of the day,
but it seems like what you're talking about is processed foods, and I agree processed foods are things we should minimize. But, however, when we're talking about specifically artificial sweeteners, I don't think that is something that we should demonize, and I think the evidence really backs that up, that they are just not unhealthy for you.
it tastes like shit though. Like I
Well,
gotta be honest
that's
with you. Like,
but that's a different conversation. I agree. I don't like the
no,
taste
no,
of
no.
them.
Yeah. You're right. You're not. Yeah, you're right. It is a
They
different
do
conversation.
make it. It is sweeter than, like you mentioned, say sucrose, which is just glucose and fructose bound
Right.
together like in sugar cane. So yeah, but the fact is also that means you have to use less too. So you're not going to use the same amount of an artificial sweetener than you would, say, regular old, white sugar that you buy at the store because of that sweetness. So
Yeah, I think that, I mean, naturally sugar comes in fructose and fruits, and it comes in fruits because it also comes with fibers that helps you, process that
well,
fruit. And
so yeah, cellulose is a type of carbohydrate,
Mhm.
and that's typically what's in like the plant cell walls.
Yeah.
What you're talking about is like a carbohydrate that the plant will make for itself. Because again, plants are autotrophs, so they produce their own carbohydrates in order to make their own energy.
You're taking me back to AP Bio 12 years ago. I love it.
I
She is a professor. She is a professor.
Yeah, I did take AP Bio like 12 years ago or 14 years ago. So
Oh gosh, yeah, that was
and
for me back in
again,
like 2008 or 9 or something.
so you get it. I mean, we can all agree that I think with everything in life, there's pros and there's cons, and if the pros can outweigh the cons, like I personally, I don't like certain types of artificial sweeteners just because, like you said, taste is a thing. But like I like Truvia. I put it in my coffee.
it's an acquired taste. It's an acquired taste, I guess.
Oh, it sure is, for sure. But again, for some people, that might be their only option of helping them with their weight management too. So we know that obesity can lead to a
Right.
vast array of other diseases that
But
could unalive somebody.
It seems to me that artificial sweeteners are propped up to address a public health crisis that is brought to us by jam packing so many products with, processed sweeteners, processed sugars, and all these things. And it seems to me like, America loves to create a product to address another issue that is, it's just, to me, it's just, how can I put this? It's like the dentist dilemma. It's like the dentist is propped up by all the sugars that are sold to
artificial sweeteners.
To your citizens.
I do want to point out that artificial sweeteners actually don't usually cause cavities.
Oh, well, you know what? You're probably not wrong. Yeah, you're probably not wrong about that. But it just seems to me like unnecessary layers that is addressing a very important public health crisis of, that is brought to you by, corporations and how much bullshit they're selling.
So what do you recommend? What would be your solution? What do you think should be done?
Just natural fucking sweeteners, fruits and honey and sugar cane.
But I'm talking on a widespread scale because simply just telling somebody to eat this, not this, right? Like that's not really going to work when we're talking about a large scale.
I think a value-added tax in which you're taxing processed foods a bit higher, but natural foods lower or exempt from that tax. I think that it's proven to work with things like cigarettes, in which you make things that you want to divert your citizens from purchasing and consuming. You make them a bit more expensive, but when it comes to things, healthy things that come from the earth, you don't tax them at all. I think
Yeah, I
that's one of the
mean,
ways to go
I
about it.
think there could be something that you could do with that. I would just be careful, like, because there are, like, if we're talking about it, like people in the lower socioeconomic class, sometimes all they can afford are certain foods, and I just would be wary of putting taxes on foods and then thus making it harder for them to
Mhm.
afford certain
But you're
foods.
you're referring to like food deserts right there,
Well,
and food
sure, yeah,
deserts come from the economic disparity of how cheap processed foods are, but how more expensive healthy foods are, and I think that requires a whole nother conversation
it
of
does,
income
yeah.
inequality.
For sure, and I think this is actually heavily related towards that. I think it would be really hard to kind of fix our health problem until we fix
I
the disparity between like the upper and lower class or middle
I
class,
would
whatever.
I would argue that if you I would argue that if you had a value tax alongside a universal basic income where everyone gets a monthly stipend, I think that you can boost people's um, you can boost people's income and their ability to buy, you know,
Yeah,
those products, those produces, those healthy products. But then with the value tax, you're making processed foods a bit more expensive. So when you
yeah,
go to the grocery store, you're going to have the option between buying a fruit or something with a processed sugar of some sort, a processed sweetener, and I think that's where you can push people to make more healthy decisions.
yeah. No, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it is a complex topic, though, for sure. One quick
It
thing.
is.
David, thank you for the dollar on the blue out with a B. It says, this is a reminder that you didn't read my dumb Venmo from earlier. Sorry, I'll read it on out loud. I must have missed it. Um, Let me go ahead and find it real quickly. It says, previous guest said seed oils will make me look like Doug. I just started chugging them. How long will it take? Thank you, David. I appreciate you. Um, yeah, man. So I agree with what you were just saying, though, for sure. But yeah, but it would be, it'd be a complex thing to fix. But yeah, I think having um, universal income, depending on how you do it, could be very beneficial. You would have to scale it towards, of course, people's income that they already have. But yeah, I think
Mhm.
that could be a method for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, man. I mean, I guess that's all I had to say. I guess.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
Alrighty,
And keep on spreading some healthy discourse.
I'll try my best. All right, take care. All right, have a good night. All right, guys, keep tapping and sharing.
Everyone's so polite.
I love it. I love it. We've
I
had very
know.
good.
It's like good
It
vibes.
is so rare to have good conversations on this type of live. Like normally, we just get people who are very emotional, and we've had terrific conversations. Um,
Yeah.
all right, let me read some of
And I
the
mean, I
tube
agree.
comments.
There's so many things about our society that if we were to look at processed foods, that's not the only thing, right? He brought up socioeconomic status, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And in a lot of places where food deserts are a thing, there's also sometimes a lack of places for people to even like get out and move around.
it's
Or if
true.
they don't have the time, right? Constantly stress people, everyone talks about stress,
Hmm.
and we know that chronic stress is not good on the body. Lack of sleep. I don't know how many times I've had students be like, yeah, I got 3 hours of sleep. I'm like, you need to sleep. What are
Yeah,
you doing?
yeah. Um,
There's a lot that goes into, I think, why our country has, you know, a weight problem, if you will.
I
And we
agree.
do also have to take into account, though, that hormonal issues are a real thing.
Hmm.
There are still men out there running around saying, well, PCOS is just an excuse for them to be fat. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me,
Oh
guys?
my God, yeah, people say some crazy things about that. People on the tube
Yeah.
are arguing about veganism, it seems.
What's wrong with vegan? I mean, I'm not a
I,
vegan, but I'm just.
I think they're arguing the ethics of it. I don't know. I'm just trying to read through it. There's a bunch of comments. I think some of them are.
Mm.
It seems like some of them are saying that if you're a vegan but you have a cat or a dog, you're very hypocritical and you're still causing harm to animals. Uh, from what I see in the comments, I don't know. That's also a complex conversation.
My dog, I think, loved me. And this cat I rescued off the street last year seems to like me.
Yeah, there are some people that make arguments that us domesticating dogs and cats is a net harm for them, and that it's not something that they would naturally want to do. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but I've heard people um, make that case.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I've lived with 2 vegetarians in my life at separate times while I was in college, and one was trying to go vegan.
Hmm.
It was hard. And this was back in like the 2010s, or no, even before that, when like vegan cheese was a nightmare. And she's like, I can't eat this. But, I don't know about the whole cat and dog thing, but I'm not going to get into that because
Yeah, I need to
that's what people
respond to
want to
this comment.
say.
This person says weight problems happened when they introduced a new food pyramid in the 70s. We all used to be super skinny on the old dietary guidelines. Yeah, you're spreading a lot of misinformation there.
Mm,
Number one, the first food pyramid, as far as I know, came out in 1992. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. There possibly could have been one beforehand. Uh, it looks like there was some other one beforehand, but that wasn't number one. People didn't follow it, right? So that wasn't really a big one that people followed by any means. Nobody follows food pyramids at all, and I think you're making a causation correlation fallacy because you would have to show that people's diets change specifically because of that food pyramid, and
mm.
not all of the million other reasons as to why people got unhealthier. Like people, I'm sorry, when people in school or whatever were given this food pyramid, nobody ever fucking changed their diets because of it. I would argue if
Right.
people did eat closer to the food pyramid, they would have been healthier compared to the standard American diet. All right, let's bring
Yeah.
these guys back up. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey again. I love what Professor was talking about earlier. I feel like I could expand in terms of how economic policy can make America healthier again.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
And I think when it comes to like RFK Jr. and his MAGA movement or whatever, I think it's bullshit because he's never going to confront the corporations that are making us sick, right?
No, not at all.
But the rhetoric is in itself is okay in terms of like, yeah, we do need to do something about the system and how it promotes just unhealthy like decision making, right?
Yeah.
When you go to the store and all of that. And I think what happens in terms of what Professor, what you were talking about in terms of stress levels, and that I think that's very correlated with your economic situation, right?
Yes. Oh, definitely.
And I mentioned food deserts and all of that earlier, but it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that, in which we have this hustle culture where we promote this culture where, hey, if you want to get out of poverty, you have to work your ass off.
Yes.
But you're sacrificing so much when
Well,
you
we
are
start
putting.
training our kids. Think about how long my son's 10 years old, and he's in school for almost like 8 hours. And it's kind of this mindset of like, were we starting to like train ourselves to be used to doing work
Right.
for that long every day, 5
We
days a
have
week?
we have
Interesting.
a lack of we have this we lack in a work-life balance of which Europe has, for example, and they're much healthier for it, in which we're not so obsessed with working and trading our time and energy into the factory for for currency or for money. And I think that a UBI would help subsidize people's wages so that people aren't forced to work that many hours, and now they have more time out of their day to cook healthy foods at home, to join a gym, to go for that afternoon walk,
Yeah.
and it's all about how your time and energy is used up, whether you're poor and you're just trying to get out of poverty and you're working overtime, or if you have a healthy work-life balance and you can do more other things to take care of your health.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that other countries that have more progressive policies tend to have healthier people, because you're right, they have more time to focus on themselves. They're not quite as deep in like the capitalistic mindset. I mean, they still are, but like not as much. And I think, there's certainly something to that for sure, right? If you are constantly working and worrying about money and paying rent and paying this and paying that, it's very difficult to make health your main focus. I mean, some people do, and I think that's great. But your average person, maybe when they're done at the end of the day and they only have like an hour to themselves, sometimes they just want to lay around and watch TV, right? And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. You know.
I've had my fair share of 6-day work weeks, 10-hour a day, and I just want to lay down when I get home. I don't want to do shit.
Yeah.
And you have to throw in there that some people aren't just working one job. Like before me and my husband were married, I worked 2 jobs, and he also worked 2 jobs. And his job rotated from night to day, so he was missing all kinds of sleep. He was the kind of guy too. He's the kind of guy, I think, person, because some women get like this too, where it's like you forget almost to fuel your body, to sit down, to stop, to drink enough water. He's that kind of guy who's like, oh, I didn't eat all day. I'm like, it's been 6 hours. What do you mean you haven't eaten in 6 hours?
That's crazy.
And that's what happens too with a lot of people. And then it leads to like binging, right? Binging on food that they wouldn't necessarily have eaten. Maybe they didn't bring their lunch with them. And the options are, of course, fast food. Yeah, firefighters and paramedics, I would believe they probably miss meals. They're constantly going.
I need to address something in the 2 comments. This is, why doesn't he address the fact that other countries don't allow the crap that's in the U.S.? Yeah, that is huge misinformation that's spread, that there are somehow all these healthy ingredients over there. There's actually more banned artificial sweeteners over here. I think it might be artificial dyes over here than there are in Europe, actually. I mean, they don't necessarily have any more banned ingredients there than we do here. Their ways of eating are different, right? Their lifestyles are very different. That's one of the big reasons why. They also have universal healthcare in most of the countries there, right? So it's not about these specific things that they may not have over there. That's making them on average healthier. But hey, you in the comments, the person who made that comment, you're welcome to dial in and talk about it. So you guys can come up. I don't know if you realize that. Just call. You all have a phone number. Dial it. Speaking of, somebody is calling. Let's bring them in.
Oh, and Conver, you make a great point about not addressing
Hold on one second, Alex.
the food corporations, right?
Alex, 1 second. Hey, are you there?
Call from.
Okay. 1 second, guys. Hey, are you there?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good. I just need to know your age for TikTok terms of service, please.
Sorry, say that again?
Good, man. Cool. All right. Sounds good. And is there something that you disagree with on screen? Or did you want to contribute to the conversation we're currently having?
I guess I sort of disagree, yes.
Okay, sure. What's up?
I have a point that, so I think that, artificial sweeteners, seed oils, I think they're not good for the human body, ultimately.
Okay. Let's just start with the seed oil one. Why do you believe seed oils are bad for the human body?
So my to keep it real simple, I think the philosophy that I go with is anything that is ultra processed or super processed, anything that takes too much away from nature, like picking a fruit straight off of a tree. If you go too far in that process and process some kind of food or something too far, it goes beyond what our biological evolution can handle. And it puts a stress on our body, and ultimately it kind of taxes the body too much over time.
I think, listen, I think that goes to making, like, you want to make a TikTok clip saying that. I think you saying that would get a lot of views, but, like, I think we have to dial into the specifics of it, right? Because, like, sure, on average, I would agree, like, quote-unquote, natural foods, minimally processed foods are healthier, no doubt, but I think we can't use that as an all-or-end rule, because when it comes to, say, artificial sweeteners, I'm sure the research just shows that in comparison to sugar, they are going to be much better for one's health. So I agree in general, minimally processed are better, but that's not applicable to everything that we're talking about.
I hear that, and I hear your reliance on studies and looking at what's been scientifically proven, and I understand that that process, that logical process, but I just feel like there's so much out there that's fake and twisted, and you can look in history, these scientists being paid off in order to promote this product or that product, or demonize this thing in order to promote that thing. And so it's so tricky. And so for me, I'm sure there's some studies and some things that are okay, but that rule of thumb that I brought up is almost like a saving grace because of how much, quote unquote.
So he doesn't trust the science, is what he's saying.
Yeah, what you're telling me is, and don't take this the wrong. Hold on.
Behind the science.
Hold on, but don't take this the wrong way. What it sounds like is that you are just not educated enough on how to interpret the data and to pick it apart and to be able to see if this data holds a lot of weight versus this other sort of data, and you just decide, hey, since I can't do that, I'm just going to go off of common sense. Because you can look at research and see, you can look at research and like this isn't just like a guessing game. You can look at a study and say and be able to read through it and look and pick through its methodology and all that, and be able to determine, hey, is this study saying what it's actually saying, or is it really not the best study? And we can look through this sort of data. So these answers are there. It's not always easy to find, but it's there.
That's fair. Well, I'll let you get on to another caller. I guess that's it for me, but I appreciate all your time, and thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, take care. I don't know why you didn't want to keep talking, but all right.
Maybe he was worried we were going to bring up science.
I just think that's a really poor excuse in order to not look at the research at all.
It is. Especially when you switch over from talking about, science and evidence and data, and then you switch over in your first sentences, well, I feel.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so you're giving an opinion on a topic of biases, which, by the way, all the time, you can scroll down to the bottom of a paper and find any sort of conflicting information. They have to put that in there, that if there was some sort of financial bias, conflicting, anything like that, you do have to disclose that. Because when you don't, and they find out, they retract your paper.
Right, exactly.
Shame you.
And to whoever said the reason why the guy left is because I attacked him, I was actually very polite in my criticism. I said, please don't take this the wrong way. But every other person who would have said that would have just dug right into him. And if he can't take criticism, that's a him problem, right? And if you can't take criticism, that's a you problem. I'm sorry, I'm going to push back on a dumb statement. But, Lanukwa, whatever your name is, you also can come on up. You don't have to hide in the comments. And in fact, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you in a timeout for 5 minutes. I expect for you to come on up, because since you're so chatty and knowledgeable, you should be able to dial on in. So you are now in a timeout for 5 minutes. Just dial on in and you can bypass that timeout. All right. Anyways,
Timeout time.
Conver, I think that's your background noise. Or whose background noise? Somebody has background noise. Somebody.
It's me. It's
okay.
Me. Sorry.
Okay. All right. No worries. Anything else that you wanted to say? David, thanks for the $1. Says, realize if I only send $1 at a time, I can just annoy the crap out of you all night. Thank you, David.
Who was that from?
David.
David?
Yeah.
David's sassy tonight. I like it.
Sure is.
One last thing I want to ask you guys. Are you guys familiar with the concept of blue zones by any chance?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm familiar with there.
And have you guys seen the documentary on Netflix on that topic?
I have not, but no.
I think I saw it it popped up on my recommendation page, but I didn't watch it. But I do know what you're talking about. Areas like Greece and Italy having, yeah.
I think
There's other areas too.
No, Greece and Italy, Japan, Costa Rica, and Loma Linda in California were areas of discussion on blue zones. But I think Costa Rica and Japan are indicative of a problem of how modern diets have taken over and affected our ability to live longer and healthier lives, right? Because Costa Rica does not have the healthcare system that we have here in the U.S. and the trillions of dollars that we spend in healthcare, but it still remains a blue zone where people live to be more than 90 years old, and that comes from their natural diets. And something really interesting about the documentary is that they're filming a 100-year-old man, and they're asking him questions, and then they pan out to the diets that are creeping into their great grandchildren. All the processed foods, all the sugary fucking drinks, and they pose a question: will their children live the same age as that individual? And sadly, I think that they will not, because there is an epidemic of diabetes that is happening in Latin America, for example, where Coca-Cola comes in and sells their products, and they're very good at marketing, and all the processed foods, all the chips, all the Cheetos or whatever. And it poses a question like, healthy living is very attainable as long as we stick to the natural ingredients that we can like extract from the earth. But I think that modern diets with all the processed foods and all that are slowly killing us. But in truth, healthy living shouldn't cost us more than just picking a fruit from a tree, picking an avocado from a tree, picking a vegetable from the ground, and cooking that shit,
Hello?
Yeah. Yeah, Johnny, what's up, man? How old are you?
22.
Cool. And do you disagree with the background?
I disagree that you can say that artificial sweeteners are not bad for you. I would not say that's not a statement you can say and logically defend it, I don't think.
Okay. Why
firstly,
do you think
that? What was that?
So, yeah, obviously you think they're bad. Why is that?
Well, no, that's not necessarily what I said. I'm saying you can't say that they aren't bad. You can't say that they're not bad because there's not enough research on artificial sweeteners right now, especially in human trials. There's not enough. They haven't done large enough on large enough scales to be able to say anything definitively yet. It's like there's no consensus on it right now. But I do know
Sure
one
there
thing
is.
personally.
Wait, yeah, there is. There's been decades of human studies on artificial sweeteners.
No, there definitely has not. Decades of good studies, well-made studies for decades. There's been maybe in the last 5 years has been the majority of the studies that scientists have been going off of.
No, man, dude. There's been literally thousands of studies that have included humans in relation.
Maybe on certain artificial sweeteners, but for a large portion of them, there have not. So to generalize and say for example, sucralose. We do not know about sucralose right now. That there's not enough evidence in studies to definitively say sucralose is bad for you. It's just not there.
So which one of these do you believe are bad via the evidence then?
Sucralose, it could be bad, but it's not definitive. And I know that specifically because every time I have sucralose, I get a raging headache, and so does everyone else in my family because of genetics. Probably, I couldn't imagine why else. Literally, anytime any of us have sucralose, we get terrible headaches.
Okay, but somebody who drinks
milk.
Why
would that be, you think?
Well, somebody who drinks milk, for example, right, and they may get diarrhea. That doesn't mean we're going to say milk is bad for people. Maybe that person shouldn't have it, but it doesn't mean it's bad for people.
Well, when you look, but regardless of the anecdote that I gave, the studies, what is a study? How many studies are there on sucralose and what scientific consensus is there that sucralose, for example, is not bad for you?
You want to see how many? What's up, man? Or Dr. J.
I
Sagan.
You're good. We don't prove negatives in science. When we make a hypothesis, the hypothesis is positive, and we look for information to support or refute. Then the hypothesis is then reevaluated after the data is collected, and a new positive claim is made. We don't prove negatives. So the notion that
Exactly my point.
prove to me that this is not bad for you is a negative claim.
Correct.
So I'm not sure what you're trying to say, except so sucralose, when we study sucralose, we collect data on it. There are studies that show that sucralose affects body systems, and they do so negatively.
Sure.
Okay, what is your point?
My point is that there in the scientific community, you cannot make claims on something, especially as broad of a category as artificial sweeteners, to say that's bad for you when there's
Yes, you
such
can.
little evidence.
It's
To
not
make
so little evidence.
for example, that's like saying that there's life on Mars when we found very good evidence for life on Mars, but there's no scientific consensus on it.
Actually, there is scientific consensus about life on Mars.
No, there's not. Now you're just lying. That's just not even true at all.
You should be very careful about where you take this
I
conversation.
am extraordinarily well knowledgeed on
I
Mars.
guarantee you that you don't know as much as you think you do.
I think, bro, I think you're in the wrong conversation. Okay, fine. Where is the scientific consensus on life on Mars?
That life on Mars, organic life, has had to have existed on Mars because we have definitive evidence that
Show me a
methane gas
peer-reviewed study on
exists
this.
on Mars.
Okay, peer-reviewed study. Where is it? That life definitively existed on Mars. Where's a peer-reviewed study on this? It doesn't
You're
exist.
just going to say it's fake news.
No, peer-reviewed study, properly well-made study that shows definitively there was life on Mars. Because the best thing we have right now is some rock formations that we found that are very strong evidence of life on Earth, but we can't say that for another planet. So my point is here that we can have extremely strong evidence of something like that and not come to a scientific consensus on it. The best thing we have is a rock formation, which we have to bring back to Earth and study. We do not know that there was life on Mars, and there's no peer-reviewed research papers that are well-made and done by proper scientists and peer-reviewed that say so. And you're
I
not gonna
have
be able to
literally spent 2 years studying methane gas clouds on Mars to pinpoint the existence of organic decay.
Sure, sure, good job. Where's the peer-reviewed studies? Any individual scientist can study anything. That's why we call them peer-reviewed studies.
All right, we'll address this, but I do.
This
No, he's
conversation took a
studying.
turn.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it
do.
was my point to prove it. It was to prove a bigger point that just because there's a little bit of evidence for something doesn't mean that you can make the broad claim that that
So if
entire
we're
thing
going-
is true.
If we're going back to like the artificial sweetener claim, there are a lot of studies about it, though. That's what I'm.
But there's not enough evidence. That's why I brought up the Mars analogy to make a definitive statement that all artificial sweeteners are not bad. That is plainly not. That is not a statement you can make with the evidence that we have.
What would define as? And somebody's got really loud background noise.
It's probably.
Yeah. So when you're on mute here, I muted you. When you're not talking, just keep yourself on mute, please. What would constitute as enough research? Like, how much research would be sufficient for you?
Yeah, humans have kind of always never been able to really define this because you can't really say, but we can say when we know there's. It's usually when basically all scientists collectively agree on it, and their tests have been run so many times, and they've never failed through multiple people, through multiple studies ever. We don't have that with artificial sweeteners. We don't.
True at
That is
all.
literally how science works.
It is not how science works.
Okay, so you're telling me that how much evidence do you think we need to determine whether or not something is true? If you think there's enough with artificial sweeteners, then you're wrong. Because science works is multiple different people do multiple different tests. And if the test works in multiple different environments, multiple different studies, by cutting out all other variables, then we say, okay, this is true until proved otherwise. We don't have that with artificial sweeteners. And especially not all of them.
You don't think so.
No, most scientists don't think so. We don't have enough studies. It's just simple as that. You have not provided me, by the way, still with a single peer-reviewed study on anything you said.
Because you won't shut the fuck up.
You went mute to search for stuff for the last 5 minutes.
Shut up. Shut up.
You went mute for 5 minutes. Where's the peer-reviewed study?
To get the damn service, the number, so I could
All right,
give it
let's
to
hear
you.
it.
Nope,
From
not now
Mars.
because you're a jackass.
All right, not now. Sure. All right.
Nope, I'm done.
Yeah, you are done because you don't have any good argument. All right. Well, I'm going to talk to my girlfriend now. 'Cause she's got off work.
All right, we'll get the fuck out of here then. All right, well, there goes up. Ghost, you can come on up.
That took a turn.
Yeah.
I had to look up what he was talking about with Mars. They're called leopard spots, actually. I was like, huh. I don't know anything about space.
I have no idea, really. So, people in the tube, you can dial in and come up.
Here, those of you who actually care, there's the PMID number for the origin of life on Mars if anybody wants to do it.
Thank you.
I put it in the chat. You're welcome.
Mars Attacks.
Literally.
Great movie.
That's
Good
as much
movie,
as I
yeah.
know about that planet.
That movie scared me. I watched that movie when I was younger, like 5, 6, and it was so scary.
Ooh, that's young.
Yeah, I know. I watched too many movies I shouldn't have when I was too young. But yeah,
I
it was
definitely watched Jaws when I was like 6 or something, 5 or 6.
There was
Living in Florida watching Jaws. Terrible
that would be
idea.
scary. Yeah. There was a specific part in Mars Attacks that I found to be especially scary. I didn't like one of the aliens at the end like bite, or what did they do? Didn't they put like the lady on the dog or something like that? You remember that?
Oh,
I found that
swap the
that
heads around.
that scared me so much, and then they had the guy's head just hanging in the thing. God damn, that was freaky.
The music that they played when the aliens would show up, I think that's what creeped me out about that movie, because it's very eerie. Like it's synthy and like out of like just.
I'm gonna see if I can find it.
The moment the president gave that handshake and his hand detached, and goddamn, I knew something was wrong with those people.
Was it Jack Nicholson the president? In
that? Yes, he was.
Could you imagine if we had Jack Nicholson as a president?
I mean,
He's so gross.
I would be for. All right, let me introduce this guest. Hold on, Liam, how you doing? And guys, it's not the other Liam. At least I don't think. Liam, how are you?
I'm not too bad. How are you guys?
Pretty good. I just need to know your age for TikTok terms of service.
So I'm 23.
Cool. And do you disagree with anything on the background?
I guess I'd say I'm intrigued, less so disagreeing, but I am curious. I'm also curious though, who is the other Liam? Am I in bad water here?
There's just a
he's a terrible human.
Yeah, basically. But what is it that you're intrigued upon or intrigued on? Like, what do you want to talk about?
So I don't know if it is the same Liam or not, because I was in chat a while ago. I'm a vegan, so this like the diet and health conversations are always like of interest.
Okay.
And then I'm also a chef, so I've been in that industry for a few years.
Were you in TikTok, or were you watching? Were you watching on the tube? Because there was somebody.
I was watching on YouTube there a little while ago. Yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna say okay, makes sense. All right, go ahead.
So I guess I kind of have a question for each of you, but I hope that you have different answers. I guess
okay.
But my question is so you all have like a lot of this information, and that's pretty good, and I agree with a lot of the things you're saying. I wouldn't generally say I agree wholeheartedly, but generally I'd say I agree with what a lot of you are saying. The problem I have though is that I guess if you have this information, if you feel confident about these things like raw milk being bad, why would you not feel the same about meat, for example? Because I'm under the impression that when you eat meat, it gets small bits stuck in your teeth, and then that's very hard to get out. Besides flossing, brushing, it's still micro, tiny, on the cellular level, bits get stuck in your teeth and they rot. And the same happens in your intestine and in the wall of your intestine. And from what I can understand now as well, that people are able to suggest now, it's not definitive what I understand, but they're able to suggest that colon cancer is linked to meats, red meats specifically. And so with all that being in debate, why would anyone not want to be vegan?
Well,
you guys.
Sure. That are well, yeah, I get it.
Given that you are so aware of a lot of these things.
I'm not aware of any data showing that meat specifically, outside of any other factor, would lead to. I think you said colon cancer. I believe it was. I can't speak to the T thing. I truly don't know. But as far as colon cancer, sure, there is a correlation. I do know that to be true. But I'm not aware of any evidence showing that there's a strong cause and effect of that. I think, like what I'm saying, I think somebody can have a perfectly healthy diet, including some meat products. I agree. If you have too much, especially red meat, yes, that's going to be bad. But I don't believe that having no meat is going to be better for you than having some as part of the healthy diet.
Okay, I'll just quickly respond and say then, like, could I not, with that logic, argue that you could be perfectly healthy whilst only having a few cigarettes? Because you could still be healthy outside of smoking. Like, you could be jogging, eating healthy, sleeping well, all these kinds of, stress releasing and, keeping it down. But, like, I don't think there's such an idea as perfect. And health is more of, like, a symptom of your good choices. And so to suggest that, I think it's okay to do something that is potentially dangerous, because
but I think
it
I see what you're saying.
Like, I don't see how that.
But I think comparing meat to cigarettes is a little disingenuous, right? Yeah, because having 1 or 2 cigarettes a day is going to be.
I disagree because.
But I think those are two very different things. Having 1 or 2 cigarettes a day could be.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're not. Very problematic. I'm saying they are comparable.
Well, I would disagree.
There's a reason why we compare. There's a reason why we compare meat to Liam, cigarettes, and we don't compare like broccoli to cigarettes, right?
Liam,
because
what I would
advertise broccoli.
Liam, what I would say is that I kind of agree with you that the ultimate goal is to extract protein in the form of, what are the building blocks of protein? But I forget. But
amino
you can
acids.
extract amino acids, right? You can extract protein from veggies, but you have to combine different veggies to get to that point, right? And so ultimately, a vegan diet can be very it's very accessible to live off of a vegan diet. But what I would say is that as humanity, we still have to feed billions and billions of people, and meat, red meat, can fill a bit of that necessity.
That's not true. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that is ultimately not true, because the amount of water in food, like 80% of the entire world's grain goes into feeding the animals. The humans only actually 20% of the grown wheat in the world, wheat and grains. And so 80% of the grains on Earth go to cows, which are on pasteurized land, which is land that is used specifically for the cows. If you also add up all the water, there's enough water to salvage every single drought happening on the world. So there is enough wheat, there is enough food, there is enough water for all this. The problem is it's unsustainable to put cows in a field, feed them shitloads of, numerous or copious amounts of water and grain that essentially they don't need. You're killing them at 4 years old, which is the average life for a cow. 100 billion or 100 million cows are killed every year in America alone, for example, and it's just ultimately like 40% or 30% of all meat in the world goes in the bin. And like, you want to tell me that this is in any way sustainable, or that this is a part of a perfect diet? I simply disagree.
It's
not
you.
That complicated.
Look,
it's already provable that you can take these assets.
Liam, you gotta let him speak. Liam, you gotta let him speak.
Liam,
I'm done.
Liam, I'm with you in the fact that I'll give you one example. Like when I make a decision to go out and eat, sometimes I will always side with having a healthy meal. Like, I love Indian food. I go for the vegan option, and I know for a fact that I am fulfilling my dietary requisites without eating meat, right? But I think that this speaks more about the situation we are in the world is one in which, unfortunately, meat is consumed in very poor communities, and in places where, Latin America, in Africa, it is very how can I put this? Unfortunately, this is a requirement for the diet to sustain themselves, and it is something of right, and you and I come from a privileged background where we have a choice to either consume meat or not consume meat, right? You and I come from that privileged background, and I think it begs the question: how can we address the poverty factor in which people in poverty have to tap into that meat consumption to
Okay, I'll
survive?
tell you why. By acknowledging that we're exploiting animals for profit and it's unsustainable. My point is, if you stop doing that,
Wait,
there
wait,
is
wait,
more
though.
money.
How?
There's
I'm
excuse
sorry,
me.
but he didn't answer his question though, because if you're talking about
It's two
exploitation of
questions, and
animals, how is that going to help a
sorry.
family
I've
of
been asked.
four?
I've been asked two questions. You're interrupting me before I can answer a third one. I would like to answer his first question, then a second one, and then I'd be open to answer your question if that's okay.
But Liam, remember that I'm with you. Like, remember, I'm with you in that the ultimate
I
goal
understand
is
that.
to
I just have to tell you
have
where I disagree. Because not only is it affecting the poor, but this is also like, I'm a chef and I work with, food all the time, 6 days a week for over 10 hours every single day. And I'm telling you that if you want to picture this meat as an idea of like McDonald's where you get it cheap, that's not true. You have to pay people to slit them animals' throats. You have to pay for the facility to do it. You have to pay for the land. You have to feed them. You have to pay for all that, man. Let's be honest. Meat is extremely expensive. It's an extremely expensive, exploitative industry, and like you can't sit here and tell me that it affects the poor people. Like, I'm one of the people who serves rich people wagyu. They pay £100 for this stuff, and to say that it affects one type of people based on their wealth is like really inaccurate way of framing how it actually is. The problem is that we're exploiting animals. We're taking literally the skin off mink while they're still alive. We're selling it to people, and then you expect me to care about the people buying mink skin. The problem is that we're exploiting animals at a rate that we cannot continue. The planet is dying. There's methane coming into the air at a rate that we cannot sustain. We're killing 100 million cows every single year. And like, I don't understand how you want to make the argument that, in theory, it could be perfectly helpful to eat that. That's why I'm suggesting that in theory, you could be perfectly helpful to have a cigarette, or you could be in theory perfectly helpful to, or
But you can't,
you could
though.
in theory be perfectly helpful to
Now,
but
Liam.
that's my point. How could you be considered healthy if you're putting
Now, Liam,
like
I stopped.
unsaturated,
Look,
monosaturated
Liam,
fats into your body that's
Liam,
causing stress on your
Liam.
heart?
I personally stopped consuming red meat. Right, I stopped consuming pork and beef, and
Congratulations.
And well, hold up, and I've just cut my meat consumption to to chicken and fish. Right. Ultimately, I get where you're going at, and I agree with you wholeheartedly in terms of, for example, the blue zone diets that are people that can live to be past 100. It comes with uh minimizing your meat consumption, you know, and I think that I agree with you on the morality issue of slitting, like slitting cows' throats and all that. I get what you're getting at, right?
The
But
same happens to chickens and fish. You know that, right?
right,
Like
yeah.
fish die with oxygen. I'm sorry, but they
okay.
have a nervous system.
Can I ask you
whether
something? Can I ask you something? Can we consume honey,
Excuse me.
or is that can we consume honey, or is that
Okay,
are we exploiting the bees?
Yeah, last I checked in veganism, they don't.
Yeah, so I'll answer both questions. So firstly, yeah, the fish do feel pain. Like, I don't know if you've ever had a hook through your cheek before, but I can guarantee you when you study their nervous system, they also feel the pain. That's why animals swim away from things that hurt them. That's why when you brand a cow, it goes away from the brand because it doesn't like the pain. They're able to experience pain in the same way we can. Or at least we can speculate that. That is truly plausible. And on the other hand, no, as a vegan, I don't think it's okay or moral or, I don't sleep well at night consuming honey because you also have to exploit bees to do that. And if you don't know how they're exploited, then I recommend you go and educate yourself. That's why we don't eat honey. We speak on the behalf of animals that you are consuming and putting into your body and dealing with the cholesterol and dealing with the mercury as well.
with
The
the
fish you
honey
consume, they
with the
contain
honey.
mercury and your body
Okay,
can't get rid of
hold
it.
up, hold up.
So it's not healthy.
With the honey issue, you have to understand that beekeepers will sustain their bee colony through the winter with sugar and all these other things. The whole point of bees is that they produce a massive amounts of honey to be able to survive a winter. But if you have honey, people that beekeepers, they will sustain their colony through the winter with whatever and but the honey aspect is that there have been many health benefits to you to consume honey as as a person. So I don't agree with you on the honey issue. I don't agree with you on the fish issue. I can agree with you on the red meat issue, but it's I don't know. I think you take this high ground on the morality issue, and I can agree with you to a certain extent, but life is more
I
complicated than
disagree.
that.
No, I disagree. I like to think of life as simple. Life is valuable. And I'm not like, picking and choosing which life is valuable. Like, oh, it's fine to exploit chickens and kill them and eat their bodies and their corpses while it rots inside my intestines, but it's not okay to do it with cows or whatever is within your, definition of moral. Like, oh, it's bad to eat pork or it's bad to eat cows. Like, that's great that you stopped eating red meat. That's good. You're lowering your own risk of cancer, and that's good for you. You're not doing anything for me, though. That's your own health. So like, you can't like push that onto me or like butter me up like it's like, oh, you're part of my gang now. If you're still exploiting fish and exploiting chickens, have a look at yourself in the mirror, man. That's not okay. You're picking
No.
and choosing life, and then you're saying it's more complicated than that to me. Whereas I'm saying to you, hey man, look, it's far more simple than that. Either you value life or you don't. Either you pick and choose what you find to be beautiful, or you find it all as beautiful and you're in awe of it. And I happen to be in awe of
No.
what's happening all
Do you
across the
think
board. I'm in
shaming
awe of
people is
how
going to help
horrific
your
it is.
argument? Because this seems really
I'm not.
like you're just
Excuse
shaming
me.
people.
Excuse me. I'm not shaming anyone,
You
and I don't know if
are.
you.
I mean, I think you are.
He was on your
No,
side
no.
and he was
I
trying to
would
have
be
a
ashamed if I
conversation
ate
with
animals.
him.
I would be
And
ashamed if I ate animals. That's why I
Liam, you're doing
stopped.
it. Liam, you're
probably
doing it
feeling
right
ashamed.
now.
So
that's
you don't
what
have
I
to.
just,
Liam, you're doing it right now.
bro.
But Liam, if you truly wanted people to eat less meat, don't you think there would be a better tactic to converse with people? Like clearly, there would be a better
Excuse me.
tactic. Don't excuse
But
me. You know what I
I'm
said.
not intentionally shaming. And
Well, it doesn't. Hold on, stop. I'm
sorry.
talking. Hold on. You've been monologuing fucking forever. Okay. You may not be intentionally shaming people, but you are, right? I actually largely agree with you. But the way we converse with people is very important to get a message across. And if you come across as demonizing people and shaming them, you're gonna make them do the opposite of what you're trying to do. And I think it just may be
Okay.
better to use a different tactic personally. And also to the exploiting of
Okay.
animals. I agree animals are exploited, but humans are exploited too for money. And if we can't convince people that humans are exploited for money, there's no way we're going to be able to convince people that animals are being exploited for money. So I think it might be good to tackle convincing people of the human one first before we even remotely talk about animals.
I would like to respond to that because
Yeah.
that's a great point. And I hear this a lot. Like I work in an industry where 90% of all my colleagues and teammates are in a position to disagree with me. And so I deal with a lot of disagreements. So firstly, my intention is not to shame anyone, right? The point I'm making is if you're doing this, you should be ashamed, whether I'm here or not. I'm not here to make anyone feel ashamed. If you feel ashamed, that's projection onto me, okay? I'm just telling you, I'm ashamed. I did that. I'll put my hands up and say, that was wrong. It was morally wrong. I can't believe I treated my body like that. I used to drink, I used to smoke, and now I've let go of all a lot of nasty habits in my life. And so there's no shame on my behalf. I'm not trying to make anyone feel shamed. I'm not trying to demonize anyone. And also to come back to the human issue, I totally agree. Yeah, people are of course being exploited. There's all kinds of crimes happening in every single corner of the world. But my point is, if it's okay to just look past animals, then of course people are going to exploit people. Because I'm taking the exact opposite approach to what you're saying. I wholeheartedly agree with you, but I'm just taking a different approach. I'm basically saying that if we cannot start looking at each other as earthlings, then how are you going to make people start caring about humans or dogs or cats? We are earthlings. We share the earth. We inhabit the earth. And if we don't respect it, if we don't care about what's going into our own bodies, for better or worse, then we deserve whatever it comes to be within our bodies, whether it be disease, whether it be shame, whether it be embarrassment. We are participating in this earth, and we should be respectful of the situation we're in.
So I have just a quick correction. So you made the claim that meat rots in your intestines, and I'm gonna, before I finish responding to your claim, I want you to clarify what you mean by rot.
Okay, so like what I mean by that is that uh, so on one hand, there's suggestions, always on both sides, but you could make the suggestion that your body's going to break that down before it does any damage. And then the other end, people are going to make the claim that there is things that are so disgusting in these products that we're eating that your body isn't actually equipped enough to break them down, and it does the opposite, where it breaks your body down, similar to the mercury and microplastics which we find in things like fish. Okay, and that's why I can't get behind fish as well. I used to be a fisherman, right? I used to fish. I put my hands up. Yeah, I am truly embarrassed. I'm not coming here as a preacher. I'm coming here as like, a person who's embarrassed. Okay, I'm interested in what you're talking about. This is my field of study. I'm not going to give up ever. And so, I'm trying to I'm not trying to demonize anyone. I'm trying to gather information from you guys, and obviously I'm going to share any that I have. But from what I understand, the meat sits in your body. It can't be properly processed because it's
Hang
not
on,
getting down to your
that's not
stomach.
true. Then why does our body
I'm
make
waiting.
enzymes in the first place, like trypsin and pepsin? Then what is the use of making these enzymes if we can't even use them?
This
That
is the
doesn't make any
point that I
sense.
was going to make.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. So this is why I ask you to clarify what you mean by rot. So meat does not rot in your intestine. From the moment you ingest food to the time it comes out of your body, as long as you have a healthily functioning digestive tract, it is only in your body for a limited amount of time. It's flushed out. It's the design of gut motility that does that. The pH of your stomach acid is about 1.5 to 3.5, depending on how well your protein pumps or your proton pumps work. The breakdown of animal proteins for amylase and tryptophan and a couple of others that get in there and really start breaking this up begins in your saliva. So the digestive process literally begins in the moment you start masticating. And the reason that we have different types of teeth is because human evolution has dictated the requirement of those teeth.
Okay, that's not true actually.
Yeah, it
Because if
is
you're gonna
true,
try
and
to
I
say
didn't interrupt your gish gallop, and you're not going to interrupt mine.
it's look, you finished the sentence. I'm having a conversation here. It's not about interrupting or
I'm
not
not
interrupting.
done
Okay.
talking. I'm not done
Okay.
talking.
Okay. Write me a letter whenever you're done. Then I'll wait and I'll listen, but I'll wait for your confirmation.
So you
But what you're
have.
saying isn't true, and I will
It is
correct you after you're done.
absolutely
So
true.
carry
It is
on.
absolutely true.
Okay, carry
I
on, and I will
literally.
correct you when you're done. Carry on. I will
You
correct you
have
when you're
zero
done.
self-control.
If that's what you think, I quit drinking, I quit smoking.
All right.
But
I don't know
Move
what you're
forward.
doing.
you have
All right.
you've continued to interrupt me repeatedly.
Can I reel
Yeah,
this conversation? Wait. Can I reel this conversation in, because
Yeah.
I think ultimately this prompt and this panel, I think we all agree that we are all trying to make people healthier, and we're all trying to push people in the direction to lead a healthier life.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Liam, in terms that what you are promoting is very, very, it's a very good, you have a very good intention. And at the same time, this prompt and Doug and all of us here, we've been discussing, what is wrong with society and our diets and all these things. But I think Liam, I think that you have to understand that it will be a long process to convince the billions of people on this earth to follow your vegan diet. And again, you are not wrong, dude. You are promoting a very healthy option that we can all take, right? But I think that you have to also agree that, people that live in Siberia that have to consume meat because you can't grow vegetables in the cold of Siberia, right? It is literally impossible. So they have this ecosystem where they have, they have their caribou or whatever, and they live with, they live with their herds of caribou, and they consume their caribou, every month or whatever, to be able to survive those winters. And this conversation has to acknowledge the fact that, you know, I love your ultimate goal. I really, 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 really appreciate your ultimate goal. But to convince the billions of people that exist in this world to follow your your vegan lifestyle, it's a very hard task. And I appreciate you for fighting for it, and for standing for it and all these things. But we're gonna go around in circles because we're never gonna find that solution in this conversation.
I appreciate what you're saying, and I couldn't agree with you more. I think that you're right, and I appreciate where you're coming from. But I just want to clarify two things. One thing is that I do not aim to convince anyone, because, like, if you're right, you don't need to do that, right? There's professors and doctors in here, they know that themselves without me having to, bring anything up. If you're right, you're right. You don't need to have anything else other than your own conviction. If you find that, you've got that. So my aim here is not to, like, convince anyone, right? Because people are hard to convince. People are stubborn people. You can tell somebody not to smoke, they have cancer, and they're still going to smoke, right? So my aim is to not convince, but my aim is, like, by living a healthier life, by not drinking, by not smoking, by eating healthy, by trying less to interrupt people. Maybe at the end of the tunnel, I might end up being better than I was, because I'm not convinced yet, and I'm not here to convince any of you that this diet is better or whatever. I'll let the scientists, I'll let the professors, I'll let the people who want to put millions of pounds into studying it and proving it right. I'll let them do that work. It's not for me, it's for all of you. Like, I don't have to convince any of you guys. You just have to convince yourself. That's the unfortunate part. I could have a cure in a bottle right now, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to drink it, right? The phrase is, you can lead a horse to water, but you may not be able to make the horse drink.
Liam, can I ask you something? And this is just something that I love. I love to talk to people from all over the world. And
likewise.
Can I ask you, are you Irish?
I am Irish, yeah.
Oh, what does a vegan diet look for you in your environment? What are you eating? How do you?
So,
hold on,
me,
one quick second before he goes. One quick second, Dr. Dice, was there something that you needed to finish before you move forward?
I just wanted to finish my point.
Okay.
My point is,
I wanted to hear this.
Okay.
My point is, humans are designed to be omnivores. We've been that way for many centuries. And I don't care whether you disagree with it or not.
I do disagree.
That's fine, you can. But organic evolution proves that we are omnivores, whether you like it or not.
Would you like to hear evidence to the contrary?
Meat does not rot in your digestive tract. It breaks down over time, and it no more rots any more than broccoli would.
Okay, would you like to hear evidence to the contrary?
You're gonna show me evidence that humans aren't omnivores.
I'm asking if you would like to hear evidence to the contrary.
That's what you're gonna do. Is you're gonna show me evidence that humans aren't omnivores.
I would necessarily.
I would like to see what you have.
If you would prefer to hear that or not. That's what I'm asking you. It's not that complicated. It's not.
I would like to see what evidence you have personally.
Go ahead.
So what I was going to say to you is there's actually a lot of mischaracterizations in the medical term about what constitutes an omnivore, like your teeth. Which, by the way, I'm sure if you know this, hippos have the largest canines on Earth, and they are herbivorous. So you're telling me that we've evolved to have canines and molars to do this and that and the other, and yet there is lots of evidence to the contrary to prove otherwise. Also, all omnivores on Earth eat intestines, assholes, fur, eyeballs, and you're telling me that we don't do that, but we're still omnivores. Also,
We actually do that.
omnivores no, we don't though, because our bodies have problems breaking that down, and you can look at that because you can see that the organs inside the body go under stress when you consume meat. Bacon was considered a Class A carcinogen by the World Health Organization 2 months ago. So, you can tell me one thing, and, your degree can say one thing for centuries, and it will still be proven wrong at another time. Just because you've learned something doesn't mean it's true. You can learn things that are wrong, okay? So,
But what about
you
cruciferous
look at
vegetables? A lot of people have.
Excuse me.
Wait.
I'm sorry, but you keep monologuing and nobody can get a word in.
I know we got to let other people chime in.
I'm more than happy to let you get a word in, but you've interrupted me every time.
No, she hasn't.
She's barely spoken. She's barely spoken. She's barely spoken.
Yeah,
and you
go for
brought
it.
up the
I'm
fact
not
that our
saying that
bodies
she
were
hasn't.
not
I'm just
made to
saying that she
digest
interrupts
this.
me.
But what about broccoli and cabbage and kale and Brussels sprouts? Why do people end up gassy and bloated and with indigestion if we should be eating those vegetables daily, multiple times a day, however you go about consuming them? You can't point out that people have problems digesting meat when people also have problems digesting those vegetables.
Are you sincere in that point? You interrupted me to point out that broccoli is hard to digest.
Because you brought up the fact that meat is hard to digest.
It's an
Yeah, for your
inconsistency in the
body,
logic.
not for your intestines. Your actual body struggles and stresses to break down meat, whereas your intestines are designed to break down things like broccoli. Broccoli is full of nutritional stuff, whereas meat is full of saturated fats. And it's like let's just put it
amino
into perspective
acids,
for a
which are the
second.
building blocks of all of our proteins. You're
Yeah,
lying.
which you can find in plants. You can find every single type of amino acid in plants. Okay, you don't need to be a doctor or a professor to know that. Okay. Secondly, let's just put it into frame here. You are comparing meat being broken down in the body to broccoli. Yeah, you're talking about carcinogenic foods
Cruciferous
versus
vegetables.
broccoli.
It's not just broccoli. There's a whole group of them that many people have problems digesting.
Yeah, and they're extremely important to digest. Yeah. So whether it's hard or not is irrelevant. Your body is going to need things that are green, that is full of iron, that is nutritionally dense, which meat is essentially begging to hold on to that label.
So meat has no iron in it? Okay.
I never said that it doesn't have iron. I said it's begging to hold on.
You're highlighting all the benefits of vegetables without giving the option to highlight the benefits of meat and
okay, because I'm not in that industry. If I wanted to benefit, okay, right, look, here we go. Let's benefit the pros of meat, okay? It's nutritionally dense, it's full of iron, it's full of protein, and yeah, that's about it. You have a few other saturated fats, you have amino acids, and you have a few vitamins. Yeah, so you have a lot of things that are interesting, but not a single thing in meat cannot be found in vegetables. Isn't that funny? And you're claiming that I have to sit here and talk about the pros of meat. It's embarrassing, man. I am honestly embarrassed.
Liam, hold up.
You're bringing up a point
everyone
like
on
that.
this panel, I would hope that
I'm
you
not
would want to come
shaming
to
anyone.
Liam,
You should be
hold
ashamed
up.
if you eat meat.
Hold up.
You're the one who's ashamed because you eat
Hold up,
meat, and I would be
hold up,
embarrassed as well
hold
if
up,
I ate
Liam,
meat. That's why I
Liam,
stopped.
Should I also be
Liam.
ashamed that I feed my child meat who's thriving?
Hold up,
I
Liam.
would be.
All right.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there, please. Don't. Let's not go there. What I would say, Liam, is this: that at this point, I get the sense that bodybuilding, or when it comes to, for example, someone that works in a very hard laborious job, needs to finds a need to consume meat to be able to meet the requirement of fulfilling that physical labor, that physical job, right? And Liam, what I would say to you is this: if you can find a way, and I think it is very possible, I really think it is very possible for you to find a way to be able to sustain that physical labor with a vegetarian diet, or a vegan diet, I don't care. I think it's possible, right? But you have to prove that to people that are lifting weights, that are working laborious jobs, and you have to be the example. And I followed you already, right? But you have to understand that this world right now has a lot of people that are working very hard laborious jobs, and they have to consume meat. Whether you like it or not, they have to consume meat, right?
So to give you
I'm
an
again.
example, right? So I work
Okay.
in London, right?
Okay.
When I'm working, I work about 6 days a week for about 14 hours a day.
Is it
in the
hard
kitchen.
labor's work? Are you?
I'm a chef, so it's labor. Yeah, I'm a
It's not
laborer.
hard though.
I mean,
I am
I
talking about construction work.
Yeah, and how often do construction workers have to work in like 100-degree kitchens? Like you're barking up the
Construction
wrong
work
tree here. To be fairness, right? It's a
construction work
stressful job.
depends on building your muscles, but depends on having a protein intake of all of these things. And again, Liam, I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. But again, you have if you I like that you've
But you
done
don't
your
need
home.
meat.
No,
You're
Liam,
trying to say here is you're
Hold on, Liam. Hold on,
protein
Liam.
meat.
Hold on, Liam.
I
Okay.
like that you've done your homework, and I like that you have a lot of information, and I like that you are presenting all this information to back you up. I get it. But again, the world is a different reality, right? The world I work construction. I know many people that work in construction, and they have to consume meat. And if you can find an alternative for that protein intake, and I know it's possible, then
there are already alternatives. You don't need to provide this. It's already there, you know?
Okay, but that's what we need. That's what we need. We need.
Yeah, okay, but I'm not like
that information.
I can't just sort things out for you. And I'm like, you have to understand here, right? It's an individual who's choosing to eat ethically or whatever you might find it to be, versus entire billion-dollar industries. Paying for advertisements. Burger King's the best. This is the best. Feed your kids bacon. Feed your kids fish. It has omega in it. Omega-3. Don't your kids need omega-3? My point is that you can source all these things naturally through other methods.
What's going on?
What's up, Smash?
Hey, I heard there's a veganism thing going on.
That's what we're doing.
I am a vegan.
Hey, Ella.
A little bit.
I just wanted to clarify two things. So hopefully quick, because I could see it open up a box. The first thing I wanted to say was from earlier. I was going to say that intestines of omnivores, herbivores, and carnivores are significantly different. I'm sure you could back me up on this. Carnivores have short intestines because they need to get rid of the toxic food in their intestines quickly. Herbivores have long intestines to break down things like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and leaves. Omnivores have somewhere in between, right? Well, if you measure the length of herbivore, omnivore, and carnivore intestines, we are actually closer to the 12 to 15 times intestine to body height ratio, which is closer to herbivores exclusively, not omnivores. Omnivores have 8 to 10 times the intestine length as body weight, whereas herbivores have 12 to 15 times. Our intestines are about 12 times the length of our body.
Liam,
If we're carnivores,
can I say something?
To process meat.
Liam, can I say something?
Sure.
I'm seeing pictures of Doug. Doug is buff as fuck. I get the sense that, scientific and professor, they're all about lifting weights, right? And what I want you as a vegan to prove, and I know it's possible, prove everyone that you can get your protein intake with a vegan diet
that's easy.
And reach the same.
Literally.
But that's not
the same.
Hold on, you can still do that.
That's game changers, bro. There's a documentary about
I don't disagree with that. I don't
vegan.
disagree with that. I think yes, you can do that. It's no problem. That's not my issue. And also to give you guys a heads up, hold on, just to give you guys a heads up, I do have to be done in 15 to 20 minutes. I really wish this can go longer, but 15 to 20 minutes just to give you guys a heads up. But no, I think you can build plenty of muscle on a vegan diet or vegetarian. Yeah, that's not my issue. So.
The second thing I just wanted to clarify quick was with the professor. Obviously, I haven't got off on a good start, but I just wanted to clarify that by all means, the power is to the parent. It's ultimately a parent's decision to give their kid whatever it is. Now, whatever I might feel about the food itself is one thing, but by all means, feed your kid whatever it is that you see fit. That is your duty. That is your honor, responsibility, whatever you might find it to be, or whatever I might find it to be. That is yours as a parent, and I'm not trying to take that away from you. I was just trying to say that I disagree with the animal products. That's what I don't agree with. I don't think it's okay to, eat these things. And if I was to have kids, I would not want my kids to have them. So it's not that there's any animosity, and it's not that, I don't want to hear from you. I thought it was very interesting listening to your perspectives specifically before I joined the call, but it's just, I was a bit feeling in a way I have to defend veganism as a whole here to maybe 4 or 5 individuals, and the same to the doctor here. It's not that I have a personal matter with Dr. Green. It's just I disagree with what he's saying, that this is factual about this, when I believe, whether it's factual or not, I believe differently, because there's also evidence to suggest that we are closer to being herbivorous rather than omnivorous. Due to our intestines, due to our diets, we don't eat fur. We can eat eyeballs, but it's not okay.
Can I just because we were kind of short on time, I just wanted to add in, because I kind of agree, and I have my contentions with some of the things you said. I have contentions with some of the things that other people have said that are anti-vegan, because I actually think that if you can do a vegan diet and you can afford a very a happy vegan diet, then I don't think that there's any reason to not do that. That being said, if you have kids and the only thing you can afford to be vegan is bags upon bags of lentils and rice, and it's very difficult for you to, for example, afford vegan versions of meats and stuff, and help allowing your kid to have a healthier relationship with food, that's when I think that yes, you should also consider the cost. Individuals specifically with multiple kids, it can be a little bit more difficult, especially when you're trying to have them to have a more healthy relationship with food. That being said, I don't think that it is impossible to get all the protein you need to build enough amount of muscle. In fact, I was vegan for a while. I was also pescatarian, but I also have celiac disease, so it's very difficult for me to affordably be vegan. And then on top of that, I would also make the claim that we are closer to herbivores, but we aren't ruminant. So, for example, our gut microbiomes don't make B12 on their own. So if you are going vegan, you do need to supplement to some degree with either fortified foods, which are very easy to find, some kind of supplement, or something with vitamin B12. Because I wouldn't say we're total herbivores. I'd say if we're on the spectrum of herbivore to carnivore, we're closer to herbivore than we are to carnivore or even omnivore. So that's what I would say about that. And I think it's a pretty balanced take. I don't think that anything that what I said would be of disagreement with anybody on this panel.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Everything you said seems accurate to me, and it's B12 isn't produced in the body, but it seems to be one of the things that gets demonized. It's vegans drink soy, which means estrogen, and then that gets blown out, and then another thing is if you need to supplement to be healthy, then you're not healthy, and it's B12 is essentially dirt, and that's where we get B12 from fish. That's where we get B12 from cows, because when we put them in a blender in what we call a slaughterhouse, there's dirt on their hooves, and as they're being slaughtered and turned into sandwiches or what we call burgers, there's B12 in that because it's the dirt that's ground up into their hooves, and it's
that's so. I also just wanted to mention that the cows themselves, because they're ruminants, they're able to use the bacteria in their gut microbiome, which, by the way, please don't consume any raw milk, because I know you're not because you're vegan, but anybody else, just don't consume it, because you're not going to get extra B12 from the cow's literal pathogenic gut microbiome. But all that being said, because the cows have a different gut microbiome that does contain pathogens like E. coli, salmonella, campylobacter, the bacteria in their ruminant guts actually make B12, so that's why they're able to derive it without having any kind of like supplementation from like a fortified grass, for example, because they're not able to make fortified grass. But like generally speaking, you can get B12 from meats, and it's not just because it's like ground from their hook. Like that's, you could get it from chicken as well. You can get it from fish.
Yeah, but that's because you're taking the chicken out of a dirty pan, and the dirt itself, which contains B12.
But fish.
They're putting so the fish get it from the kelp. So that's what I'm saying. B12 is essentially dirt. It's fortified dirt, and so that's how fish get it, because they're rubbing up against kelp. And there's small micro-sized pieces of B12 that sticks onto their skin. When you eat that skin, when you eat that fish, you're eating that B12. That's where B12 comes from. And like, it's crazy, man. Like, why do you think your food is called a burger and not a cow? Why do you think they call it bacon and not pigs? It's called making the connection. You realize, like, that's the thing. People don't realize that they're eating animals when they sit down to have a nice meal or whatever it is. But that's what it's called. It's called making the connection between an animal life and your food. You have three decisions.
Well, B12 is also stored in animal tissues, so it's stored in all animal tissues. So it's not just
because
like,
the animals are because the animals are eating leaves and. Yeah, but they're eating it from things that grow out of the ground.
It's stored in the muscle too, because it's used by muscle to catalyze reactions. Like, for example, methylmalonyl-CoA to succinyl-CoA is one reaction that requires coenzyme B12. So it's not just because they're rubbing against their environment. B12 is also inside of the tissues because it's required for the reactions of life.
Yeah, and in my English, I guess you'd say because they eat fibrous things which contain the dirt or contain the fortified B12 that you're talking about. It doesn't change the fact that every day.
Their bacteria and like their bacteria and enzymes that they have that we don't make it.
Yeah, cows specifically.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, I will put my hand up and say, like, I'm not sure about this specifically because I don't study, like, you know, fish and cows' stomachs on an atomic level. But, you know, I'm aware that demonizing vegans for having B12 in their milk or whatever else is just ridiculous. And I was going to say that the three choices that we each have in a day is whether or not your meal
Is costing something else a life. That's 3 lives that we can save each a day. And if you don't want to make that decision, then, I can't really, like, give any other arguments that are as valuable, because that itself is valuable. If you don't find life to be valuable, if you find it to be something that sits on your dinner plate, then
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. All I'm trying to say is I think that it's also important to promote kind of a healthier way to move into it, because if you just tell a bunch of people, hey, it's really bad that you're unaliving these animals, and just so you know, like, most people don't see it. I've seen factory farming, so like I actively, even though I'm not fully vegan, I still eat plant-based meals whenever I can, and I don't only eat animal products. Like, I do my best to eat tofu when I can, and I think that kind of balance is something that a lot of people who may be struggling with their finances can probably achieve and still lead a very happy life. Because I think it's also important to recognize that, for instance, individuals like myself who have suffered from bad eating habits, I don't want to get TikTok angry, it's a little bit difficult to tussle with the understanding of actively restricting entire classes of food groups, even if it is for ethical reasons, just because of my mental health. So I think that it's a broader look of like everything that goes on in a person's life, as well as what they can actually afford. Because if the only thing you can afford and eat a vegan diet is beans and rice, I don't think that's leading a very happy life. And I think that's also
something
to
think about
consider.
5 minutes, just give everybody a heads up, okay?
Okay. Thank you. Well, I think you see that it's like, the way it boils down to is essentially, it's like, I can't sit here and convince anyone to go vegan from any particular angle, right? Because ultimately, my point is that it's not up to me to make any of you guys vegan, right? Like, that's not even essentially my intention, okay? I'm just saying, assess me as you will individually, and, ask yourselves, why don't I go vegan? Because it is affordable. It's less affordable to pay for the healthcare or the potential downsides of continually eating things like meat, right? It's also essentially like, you know, it's the earth that we're inhabiting, and like, yeah, I mean, like, if I can't convince you that it's wrong, then I mean, you're obviously like not of my kin. You know, as human beings, we unconsciously work together to do the goals that are beneficial for other human beings. That's like the hive mind, that's how ants work, that's how bees work, and it's suggestible that humans work in a slightly similar way. And so obviously if there's somebody out there kicking a dog, we're all going to stop them and be like, you know, get the hell away from that dog. If we see somebody, you know, out, you know, attacking a person, we're going to stop them and be like, get the hell away from that person. But as soon as it's a burger on a plate, everyone's like, dig in. You know, let's sit around and talk about you know, problems that human beings are having while we all sit around here eating chicken sandwiches. And that leaves the animals getting ignored, which is my response to you as well from earlier, Doug. It's like, I am for human beings, but if it's at the cost of animal lives, I don't think it's credible, because there's 100 million cows killed alone in the US every year. And so there's a famous quote from Gary Yourofsky, spelled like Gary Yourofsky. That's how you spell his name. He does great lectures on YouTube. And he said something along the lines of, you know, the true tragedy is that we looked at Hitler, who took inspiration from what we do to chicken.
I'm just curious. What is your opinion on like laboratory mice then? Because it sounds as though that you're against all animal like unaliving.
Okay, so I think that animal testing is immoral because, like, for example, we did one thing to pigs. Okay, well, I don't know why you would do that.
So the reason why I say this is because it's quite literally impossible to replicate a physiological system in order to test a lot of these pathways and understand our physiology, because we don't fully understand our physiology. So even using like computerized models, we can't fully model what we need in order to actually understand and develop new pharmaceuticals.
I understand the reasoning. I understand the reasoning, but I disagree, and it is immoral. Do you disagree that it's immoral?
Well, then would you not get cancer treatment if you got diagnosed?
Okay, well, are you going to tell me why we have cures for rat cancer and we still haven't found the cure for human cancer?
So there is no, I need to stop you right there, because there is no single cure for cancer, and we don't have cures for rat cancer. We can genetically modify mice, but we should not genetically modify humans, because that's also an ethical issue, and we don't fully understand how human cancers progress, so we would not be able to fully basically prevent cancer in humans just by genetic modification, even if we were able to do that. But on top of that, I would want to ask you, if you were diagnosed with cancer, would you just avoid getting cancer treatment?
I probably would, because if it comes at the cost of animals, then yeah, because it's immoral. So my point is not that, you know,
all right, so then that's your opinion, but I'm going to say this right now. I'm not going to let my loved ones pass away because I have like a moral disposition to animals.
Like that's of course, but that's what separates individuals, okay? So my point is that you're going to say it's unethical to do it to humans, but it is ethical to do it to animals. And like, I'm just saying, that's not true. Like, that's a logical fallacy. You can think that, that's your opinion, right?
It's not a logical fallacy.
Excuse me. It is
That's not a logical fallacy.
And I am going to explain how, if you would let me finish. It is a logical fallacy, because you're equating morals to something that's human. Morals exist, not in a vacuum, but with humans to observe them, okay? So we determine what is moral, okay? And you saying that you think it's okay to do it to humans, but not to animals, is your opinion. That's what you find to be moral, and that's okay. But what I'm saying...
still not a logical fallacy.
Okay, you're still interrupting, so you won't find out how if you want to continue to do that. It is a logical fallacy.
It's not a logical fallacy, because if you're saying that my opinions on morals are different from yours, that's indicating that it's subjective.
Excuse me?
If I'm saying that morally, I don't see anything wrong with, sorry, that's my dinner. But if I'm saying that my morals does not observe that,
there's nothing wrong with microwaves, Jesus
I never said that there was.
There is nothing wrong with microbes, but either ways, when I say that morally I don't see anything wrong with using cancer treatments to treat my loved ones so they don't pass away, because I value my loved ones, and I value them more because they're my close-knit community, and they help with my mental health. It's very different.
Isn't it interesting?
It's very different. It's very different.
It's interesting
very
how you
different
framed
from
it
your goals.
as me trying to. It's very interesting. It's very interesting how you framed it as if I'm trying to give your family cancer, not that what you're doing to animals is immoral. Stand down. There is no if right.
Because I don't value morally.
Yeah, exactly, and that's my point. And that's my point. Yeah, that's my point. You don't, which means you have no morals, and I don't care about your
morals
because it has weak
I gotta end this. I gotta end this. Excuse me. I gotta end the live. However, though, I would like to continue this. I like is whatever is it got right now.
But I finish this one train of thought. It would be
no, because it's gonna be like 7 minutes.
Sentence.
It's gonna be like 7 minutes. But I would like to continue this. We can maybe even schedule a time for this. I think it would be great to continue. I wish I can go longer, seriously. But anyways, guys, if you all enjoyed the live, click the follow button. People watching on YouTube, click the subscribe button. If you liked anybody on the panel, give them a follow. Anything you guys want to say real quickly? Last word or two?
I could say something, but it would only take me 1 minute.
I don't have time for that. Just all right. I'm gonna bring everybody.
That's okay.
In. Okay. All right.
Thanks for your time, anyways.
I hope everybody.
Super fast.
So what I wanted to say was just that.
I can't. I really gotta go. I really have to.
All right. Okay.
I gotta go.
That's okay.
I gotta bring everybody down. I apologize, guys. But let's try to. I would like to do this live again, though. Obviously, we branched out to something else, so it doesn't have to be this topic. I can literally just make it just veganism debate live, whatever the fuck. Okay. Because it was pretty good. But I gotta go. I hope everybody has a good night. Follow me on TikTok. Subscribe to me on YouTube. And that's it. Take care. Have a good night. Be safe. See you guys likely tomorrow. And YouTubers, see ya.